Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grand Page. Before I get started with talking about dark matter, I want to talk about my Substack, the Grand Page. If you like this video, you might also like my writing. Here on my Substack, you'll find my own fiction and poetry. If you consider subscribing, and what's great about this is you don't even need the app to subscribe to me. You can just put in your email and you can get all of my fiction that I put there, either through your email, or if you happen to have the app, you can also get it through there. You'll find a link to my Substack in the description of this video. With all that being said, let's get on to the Apple TV show Dark Matter. I will give a slight expositional spoiler warning. Expositional meaning I'll be talking about details from the first two episodes. Those aren't real spoilers. Those are like the first two episodes are meant to set up the story. So it's not super spoilerish, but just want to give that heads up to everybody. But I've really been enjoying this show a lot, and so I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of talk about it. First off, the show got me so hooked that I watched the first few episodes and I immediately bought the book. So I still got to finish a few books that I'm reading right now, but I will very quickly start that novel in and of itself, and found out that the author seems to be very involved in the making of the show itself. So whatever changes that might have occurred, he might have actually been directly involved with them. For those of you that haven't actually heard about Dark Matter, the show or the book, it's another multiverse franchise. We've been getting a lot of those recently, ever since multiverse has always been a thing in comics, particularly in DC Comics, at least from my reading experience. So the multiverse isn't anything new per se, but I would argue it didn't really become a major player on like the normal front of media until, you might be able to argument, until Into the Spider-Verse. There might have been some stuff even before then, but that might have been where it really started gaining traction. So some of you might hear multiverse and are already write off this show as oh well, I've seen it all, I've heard it all before, but it's not quite that simple. It's a little more involved. It requires a little more thought behind it. So I wouldn't write it off simply because of the multiverse aspect of it. But so yeah, these first few episodes have been really good, and the way they do the multiverse is very different and very interesting. They seemingly try to involve a little more physics in it, a little more science behind it, and you can't just play hopscotch and all of a sudden you're in another dimension. It's very involved. It's very it requires a lot of deep concentration, stuff like that. So that's been a very interesting aspect to it, of understanding how the multiverse works in the first place, how you can travel through it. And they do a really good job of setting that up by using Schrodinger's cat. I thought that was really, really cool whenever they used that. A couple other things about this show. For those of you that don't know, the main lead, the actor, Joel Edgerton, I feel like he's a major actor that has been just slept on as far as Hollywood is concerned. I first discovered him in the movie Warrior with Tom Hardy, and both of them were fantastic in it, as well as Nick Nolte. and that's where I first discovered Joel Edgerton, and he was fantastic in that. Did a great job in that movie. I also highly recommend the movie itself. It's a great movie. And then I also watched him in I think it was The Odd Life of Timothy Green. That's a Disney movie. That was okay. He was good in it, and so was Jennifer Garner. Had an interesting concept. Talked a lot about parenthood. Um, that was a pretty important. But and then he shows up in this Apple TV show, Dark Matter, with Jennifer Connelly, and um, I think maybe he'll finally be able to be a much bigger player on the Hollywood front after this Apple TV show, because he's really good in this show too. And coincidentally, he plays a physics professor in this show, and he played a physics teacher in Warrior. So I thought that was really funny. They just keep casting him as a physics teacher. I thought that was pretty funny. But those are sort of the main things I wanted to talk about. The show isn't done yet. I looked it up, and it's greenlit for 9 episodes. And the 5th episode just came out a few days ago. I watched it, and that was really good. Again, another aspect of this that I really like is so many movies, shows, whatever nowadays, they don't have a proper conflict. They don't have they might not have big enough stakes, or the character might not be likable for whatever reason. I really like this show, not only because of its premise, but because of its underlying storytelling. And the bottom line of it is that a man is taking responsibility for what has happened to him to try and get back where he came from. He doesn't just sit around moping, crying, waiting for something to happen to him to set everything right, but he says, a wrong has been done to me, and I could mope and just wallow in it, or I can try and figure this out and try and get back home. And I really like that storytelling because it takes a character, a person, and he has this high standard of, I'm going to do the right thing, and then he's faced with an insurmountable task. He is tasked with traversing the multiverse so that way he can get home. And because of the idea of a multiverse and what it all entails, that is a seemingly insurmountable an insurmountable goal, an insurmountable conflict. And yet he says, despite that, I will get back to where I belong, and I will take on the responsibility of accepting what's happened to me, and instead of wallowing in self-pity, moving forward. So I really like that aspect, that underlying storytelling. The multiverse is used in an interesting way. I really like that. A way that at least I haven't seen before. It might have been done in other places, but I just haven't seen it in those other places. So I highly recommend you check it out on Apple TV if you have it, because it's very good show so far, and I'll probably come back and do another video on it again whenever the series wraps up. Hopefully they'll know to just make it a limited series and not make it a full-on show with multiple seasons. I hope they just do the book, 1 season, and then that's it. But we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do with it. Before I go though, just a little reminder: my Substack, the Grand page, subscribe to it. It's free. You can get it in your email. You don't have to download the app, and you'll get access to my fiction and poetry. With all that being said, I am your most humble and obedient servant, Page Ghost.